Well, I have this 90-inch beam here, actually 90 inches between the supports. So here's the left side of the beam, supported on a roller. Okay, let's work our way down. At the other end, a roller. So it's supported by two rollers. You see the tape measure on top telling me 90 inches. So 90 inches between the supports, two roller supports. And the tape measure started over here at 0. Now I am going to hang loads off of this beam. I'm going to hang loads off of this beam. You see this disc? That's a load hanger. So the load hanger is located at, how far? 30 inches? 30 inches from the left support. And then I have another load hanger. Another load hanger at how many inches? 60 inches from the left support. What are these lollipops that we see across the top here? These are called dial indicators. So I've got one dial indicator at what looks like 22.5 inches. 22.5 inches. And then the next dial indicator at what looks like 45 inches. That's mid-span. And then the third dial indicator at what looks like 67.5 inches, or at least close enough for our purposes. So let me step back and you can see this entire thing in context. So right there, the aluminum beam, 90 inches between the roller supports. I'm going to hang weights off the beam at 30 inches and 60 inches, at least for my first test. And the dial indicators will measure the displacement at 22.5 inches and 45 inches and 67.5 inches from the left support. Now I measured it earlier, but the distance between the free end and the support is approximately 6 inches, really close to 6 inches. And then on the other side, the distance between the right support and the free end, that's also 6 inches. So this is symmetric. And this frame that it's sitting on, this is not part of the lab activity. It's just the support for the aluminum beam that you see across the top. So there's the beam right there. So these are the weights that I will be using. Each of these plates is 20 pounds. Is that upside down? Maybe. 20 pounds. How many do I have here? 100 pounds worth. I see 5 plates. And then another 100 pounds over here. You can see this right side up. Each plate 20 pounds. So 100 pounds here that will go on this hanger for the first test. And then 100 pounds here that will go on this hanger for the first test. Did I mention how the hangers were attached? Look closely at this attachment here. So look down here. There's a hanger way down there. It hangs off of this rod, and you can see how it's attached to the beam. Well, it's not really attached. It's there's a bolt here that allows it to hang off of the beam, and then similarly with the one over here on the other side. So that's how the hangers are attached to the beam. Okay, how is the dial indicator attached to the top of the beam? So this is not the beam, this is a tool chest, but I just want to explain to you how the dial indicator works. So this is steel right here. It's got a magnet. I think my finger got in the way. It's got a magnet here so that it's attached to the steel, or attracted to the steel might be a better way of saying it. So it's got a magnet here. If I put enough force into it, I can break the magnetic force. But if I want to take it off more easily, I could just push this button, and then the magnet releases. So now it's very easy to pull off. I think there's a glare coming in from the window. Okay, so right now it's deactivated, but if I push the button on the other side, push it on the other side, and then it activates the magnet. So now it's on there pretty tight. This thing that moves up and down is called the plunger. The apparatus is at a little bit of an angle here, maybe you can tell. I want it to be as straight as possible for the actual lab activity. But this thing that goes up and down, that's called the plunger. So for example, this might be the 0 position, but then when the beam deflects down, the plunger would move down. Now it's out of stroke. So the top of the, I should say the bottom of the plunger touches the beam where I want to take the deflection measurement. Make sure that when this dial indicator is touching the beam, that the plunger has not reached its entire stroke. So right now this is its entire stroke, so I wouldn't want to have the beam touch the bottom of the plunger if the plunger cannot move down any further. So here's the on button. And I see an indicator reading there. I want to zero it out. So if I want to zero it out, I would press the origin button. That's like the tare button. I can change from inches to millimeters. The plus or minus means that if I wanted to register down as negative, I'd push that button if it isn't already registering down as negative. So switching from plus to minus, positive to negative readings. So the on-off button, the tare button, metric or US systems, and the sign, whether I want it to be plus or minus as it goes down, as it deflects down. So it's actually the plunger that's measuring the amount of deflection. I take the indicator reading right there in the window. Can you see this with the glare? Can you see it? What time of day is it? So we can document it. 4:02, Saturday, October what? 4:02, Saturday, October 3rd. Okay, so you can see the entire arrangement here. All right, so let me get this activity started then. So turn on the dial indicators. On. And make sure they're all zeroed out. So 0, 0, 0. So I'm starting out at all zeros. Are we still filming? So all the dial indicators read zeros, 0, 0, 0. So I'm going to write that down, 0, 0, 0. For all 3 dial indicators. Okay, so I'm going to add 20 pounds to each hanger. Use it from this stack. Okay. So at 22.5, negative 0.0145, negative 0.0145. Negative 0.0220, negative 0.0150, 20 pounds on each hanger. Let's go up to 40. Negative 0.0295. Negative 0.0435. Negative 0.0305. Okay, next stop, 60 pounds. Are we still filming? This camera let me down before, so I have to keep an eye on it. Okay. 60 pounds. Am I at the bottom of your screen? At the 22.5, negative 0.0460. Negative 0.0660. Negative 0.0460. Next stop, 80. Negative 0.0610. Negative 0.0870. Negative 0.0610. And then lastly, 100 pounds. Negative 0.0770. Negative 0.1095. Negative 0.0765. Let me go back here and make sure this is still filming. I'm going to unload this thing. So now take 20 pounds off each hanger. Take off 20. Take off 20. So at 22.5, negative 0.0620. Midspan, negative 0.0880. 67.5, negative 0.0620. I've got a negative 0.0465. At midspan, negative 0.0665. At 67.5, negative 0.0465. Remove another 20. At the 22.5, swinging, but I think it's okay. 22.5, you're still with me here? At 22.5, I've got negative 0.0305. At midspan, negative 0.0445. At the 67.5, negative 0.0310. Okay, take off another 20 pounds. Hang on, let me check something. Remove 20. Now we've got 20 pounds on each hanger. At 22.5, I'm at negative 0.0150. At the midspan right here, negative 0.0225. And at 67.5, negative 0.0 155. And then lastly, remove 20 pounds from each hanger. Let's see what we have here. Well, here I'm reading 0.0005, so it didn't quite zero out. Here I'm reading negative 0.0005. Here I'm reading all zeros. So there you have it, that's test number 1. And now for test number 2, I am only going to hang weight off the beam at, how many inches? 30 inches. The dial indicators are at the same locations, 22.5, 45, and 67.5. But notice that I removed the load hanger for the 60-inch location. So that hanger has been disconnected. I still have the hanger at 30 inches. So for this next test, test number 2, I am hanging the weight at 30 inches and I'm going to take dial indicator readings, deflections, at the same 3 locations. Zeros across the top, all zeros. All zeros, all zeros. 20 pounds. 20 pounds, I'm getting negative 0.0075 at 22.5. Mid-span, negative 0.0100. 67.5, negative 0.0070. 40 pounds. At 22.5. Negative 0.0160. At the mid-span, negative 0.0215. At 67.5, negative 0.0140. Next stop, 60 pounds. At 22.5, negative 0.0245. At mid-span, negative 0.0325. And at 67.5, negative 0.0210. Next stop, 80 pounds. At 22.5, negative 0.0330. At mid-span, negative 0.0430. And at 67.5, negative 0.0280. Now at 100. Actually at 100. Let me document this. So how much have we got now? 100 pounds. What does this say? That's your reading at 22.5. The reading at mid-span. Can you see this? And the reading at 67.5, right there. So that's how I read these dial indicators. Got it? Let me write down those values. I'm not guaranteeing that these are wonderful results, but we're not going to use this data to build the next Dreamliner jumbo jet for Boeing, so we don't need perfect results. Let's go back down now to 0. 80 first, though. So now we've got 80 pounds. Let me take the readings here. Negative 0.0335. Negative 0.0435. Negative 0.0285. Negative 0.0250. Negative 0.0325. Negative 0.0215. Back down to 40. Probably shouldn't be letting this swing. Okay, what are we down to? 40? Negative 0.0165. Negative 0.0220. Negative 0.0145. Back down to 20. At 20. Negative 0.0080. Negative 0.0110. Negative 0.0075. Can you hear me with my back turned to you? Okay. And then lastly, back down to 0. I can't seem to get it back down to 0 on the dial indicator. So I'm reading 0.0005 for both 22.5 and for the midspan. For 67.5, I'm getting negative 0.0005. So I can't quite get back to 0. And I think it's a defect in the dial indicators. Okay, so that was test number 2. So what have we got for test number 3? For test number 3, I'm going to hang the weight off the beam at 60 inches. 60 inches for test number 3. I'm still taking measurements, however, at 22.5, mid-span 45, and 67.5. And it's still 90 inches between the supports. So that will be the last test, test number 3. The last test for this evening. So test number 3, I'm getting all zeros. All zeros, and there are 0 pounds on the hanger. 0, 0, 0, that's what I want. 20 pounds. Take the readings. Negative 0.0065. Negative 0.0105. Negative 0.0080. Next stop, 40. Negative 0.0140. Negative 0.0215. Negative 0.0160. Next stop, 60. Negative 0.0205. Negative 0.0320. Negative 0.0245. Next stop, 80. Negative 0.0275. How are we doing down there? Everything good? Can you hear me down there? All right. Now let's come back up here now. Negative 0.0430. Negative 0.0330. And lastly, 100. 100 pounds. Let me make sure my camera is still working back here. Okay, so now we've got 100 pounds. Let's get a different vantage point. Okay, so I've got 100 pounds here, swinging a little bit, but it looks as though the dial indicators have settled down. So here is 22.5. Can you read that? Here's 45. Read it. Here is 67.5. So please write those down. Let me write them down myself. Okay, back down to 80. Negative 0.0280. Negative 0.0435, negative 0.0335. How does that look? You all right down there? Following along? So I put the readings of each of these dial indicator locations. Next stop, 60. Negative 0.0210, negative 0.0325, negative 0.0250. Next stop, 40. Negative 0.0140. Negative 0.0220, negative 0.0165. We okay here? Next stop, 20. Negative 0.0070, negative 0.0110, negative 0.0080. And lastly, 0. All right, so 0 pounds. I'll let you write down what the results are. All right, so you write this down. Ready? Go. Oh, darn. Well, write it down anyway. Still swinging a little bit, but it's settled down. The dial indicators have settled down, so I'm not going to worry about that swinging just a little bit there. Okay. All right, so there you have it.